Good evening, yogis. My name is Daniel. This is Daniel Lee Yogi, Daniel Lee Yoga. Thank you for joining me on this Friday evening. I hope you've had a great week. This week we've been practicing our crow pose, all the different key parts and component actions that's required to move into the pose. And in today's class, we have a level 2 Vinyasa focused class where we're going to just build off of what we've been doing, bring it all together and attempt our crow pose today a couple times. So if you've been watching class this week, you'll be right at home. We'll have a very similar um, parts that we'll be focusing on and whatnot. If you're new, don't worry. We are going over everything again before we attempt the pose and everything all around that. So as far as with crow pose, it's one of my favorites to practice. There's so many different parts around it to focus on, including the protraction of the shoulders separating, the wrist alignment, just core stability and upper body strength that's required, even just flexion of the hips and the adduction, bringing the legs in together. A lot of stuff to encompass a getting into the pose in a very confident way. So that's what we're going to be working on today. It is level 2 focus, so we're definitely going to have more advanced postures put in there. We're not going to spend as much time breaking down each pose. So as far as anything to know, we will need a couple blocks if you have it. They're not super necessary, so don't worry if you don't have them. They will just help give us a little elevation when we're practicing our crow. If you do have them, just place them up at the top of your mat, out of the way for now. We'll come to them shortly. Otherwise, as far as, yeah, just benefits, crow it helps to increase your stamina, it builds confidence, upper body strength, all that good stuff. So we've got a lot to work on today, and it's been a nice warm day in Baltimore. I hope you've had a wonderful day wherever you are. We got a lot to go over, so let's get started on our backs. So join me on your backs with your knees slightly bent, feet out in front of you. Just have your arms down at your sides, palms face down. Take a big inhale here and exhale. One more inhale and exhale. Again, core stability, awareness, and strength is required in crow pose for sure, and it's one of the more challenging ones to focus on. So we're going to get started with that as we start our practice. Really, it's one of the more difficult things we'll be doing today, so I say let's get it over with. So let's hug the knees into the chest, wrap your hands around your shins. Give a nice little squeeze here as you take an inhale and exhale. Now extend your left leg forward, keep your right leg in towards your chest. Keep your left heel off the ground as you flex your left toes. Draw that right knee into your chest, extend that left heel away from your body. Just stay for a breath. And exhale as you switch, draw the left knee in, extend and straighten that right leg forward, flex both toes. Draw the left knee into your chest, hover the right heel, and extend it away from your body. One breath here. And exhale, switch. Let's now move on our breaths. So as we exhale, we extend one leg. And inhale, extend and straighten the other. Inhale, draw one leg into your chest. And exhale, extend the other. Just keep going on your breath. And try to keep that heel off the mat if you can. Keep switching from side to side. One more time, each side. And gently draw both knees back into your chest. This time, give a nice squeeze and raise your head and your shoulders off the ground. So you're in a nice tight ball here as you squeeze here. Now, from this position, let's extend our arms forward, palms face up. Let's repeat what we were just doing. So let's extend that right leg forward, flex the toes, keep the heel off the mat, and inhale as we switch. So now we're doing exactly what we were doing before.
Switching on the breath, but this time our head and shoulders are off the mat. This is really going to start to engage the core here. So keep going on your breath. Again, if this is too much for you, you can always drop your back of your head down and where we were before. It's not easy. You'll definitely start to feel something in that low abdomen start to engage. Just try to keep the forearms and the elbows off the mat. Hug the navel in and down to reduce that arch in your low spine. Let's do 2 more each side. I know this isn't easy. Still try and keep the neck long. And gently draw both knees into your chest, release to the back of the head to the mat. Just gently rock from side to side. We're not quite done here. We have one more to go on our backs. Just enjoy this gentle massage on your low back. Okay, come back to stillness in the middle. Again, raise your head up and your shoulders up off the mat. Extend both arms forward, palms face up. Extend your right leg forward. This time, move your left arm to the inside edge of that right foot. So now your palms are together and are over that right leg extended. And we switch. As you draw that right knee into your chest, move those arms over the left leg. And switch again on your breath. So now we're adding the arms here. Trying to engage a little bit of those transverse abdominis muscles kind of on the side of your core here. Again, inhale as you draw one knee in. Exhale as you draw the other. Just keep going from side to side. Again, if either of these are too much, just drop to your back and keep drawing your knees in on your breath. Let's do 2 more times each side. I know it's not easy. You got it though. One more each side. And exhale as you draw your knees into your chest. Wrap your hands around your shins. Release the back of your head to the mat. Stay for an inhale. And exhale. All right, we're coming up to a cross-legged seated position. Meet me up there whatever way you like. If you like to rock up and down your spine a couple times, or just let your legs fall off to the side, either way works. Just whatever you need to do. Meet me in a cross-legged comfortable seat. All right, in our seat here, start with your palms at your knees. Just take an inhale and exhale. Let's begin to work on the wrist alignment required for crow. Extend both arms out, palms face down, shoulder height. Bend the wrist back so the palms face forward. And let's inhale the arms up overhead. Exhale as you turn to your right, release both arms to the outside edge of that right thigh. Keep that wrist engagement. Inhale back up to center, face forward. And exhale, turn to your left, release both arms to the outside edge. Inhale back to center, again keeping those wrists bent. Turn to your right, exhale, release outside that right thigh. Inhale back to center. Exhale, turn to your left and release both arms down. Let's do that 2 more times each side. Inhale back to center. Exhale, turn to your right, keeping the wrist bent the entire time. Inhale back to center. And exhale, release to your left. Inhale back to center 1 more time each side. Exhale, release to the right. Inhale back to center. And exhale, release to the left. Let's inhale back to center. Exhale, bring your hands to the center of your chest and down to the sides. All right, we can already feel our forearms warming up a little bit from that wrist exercise there. So also while we're here, again, shoulder protraction is very important in our crow pose. That's the separation of the shoulders on our back. Let's practice that a little bit by, again, extending the arms out shoulder height, bending the wrists. You now have an imaginary wall in front of you. Now keep your torso where it is, but extend your arms forward. See if you can push that wall away, maybe an inch or two. Your shoulders now start to separate here. This is the shoulder protraction that we're looking for. Now the reverse of that, just to feel that, let's keep our torso where it is and now draw our straightened arms back so that your shoulders now come towards each other on your low back. Now that imaginary wall is pushing your hands towards your torso. So this is shoulder retraction. Now push your arms forward again. Keep your torso where it is. Shoulders separate. Protraction. This is what we're looking for. And exhale again, just to feel. Let your arms draw back. Keep your arms nice and engaged, wrist bent. Feel that retraction, the shoulders coming towards each other. Just come back to a neutral position and release your arms down to the sides. Just shake your arms out a little bit, shake the shoulders up and back. Now again, we can get a little deeper into the shoulder opening and that shoulder protraction by working on our Garudasana arms. So extend both arms out to the side this time, palms face forward. Wrap and hug yourself. Let's do left arm on top to start. So you're hugging yourself with the left arm on top, elbows stacked. For our Garudasana arms, this is option one. You can stay right here if this works for you. You can already feel those shoulders separating. Option two, bring the backs of your hands together. Or option three, maybe you can wrap palms face each other. Either way, wherever you are, draw the elbows up. Breathe into the back ribs and hug your navel in and back to again reduce that arch in your spine. Just take an inhale here. And exhale, gently release those arms out to the sides, palms face forward. Now stay here for a moment. Let's switch the clasp of our legs. So take note of whichever one is in front. Let's cross the legs, switch the other one in front this time. Feet under the knees. Now we're going to hug ourselves this time, right arm on top, or just switch whatever opposite way from the first time. Again, you can stay here hugging yourself, feeling those shoulder blades separate. Option two, back to the hands come together, or option three, wrap the palms towards each other. Now inhale as you draw the elbows up wherever you are. Feel those shoulders separate. Breathe into those back ribs. Hug that navel in and back to reduce the arch. Nice long spine. Take one more inhale here. And exhale, gently release your Garudasana arms. All right. Now we're coming into tabletop pose, so meet me there. You can either place your hands forward, roll over your knees, or just set your knees off to the sides. Now, in your tabletop pose, wrists are underneath your shoulders, knees or hips with distance, tops of the feet to the ground to start. Just take an inhale here and exhale. Now, while we're here again, let's revisit that shoulder protraction and retraction. So, keeping your arms nice and straight, hands below the shoulders. Drop your torso down so the shoulders come towards each other. This is that retraction. Shoulders come towards each other. Reversing that, pressing down into the mat, arms are straight, raising your torso. Now the shoulders separate in that protraction. Again, this is what we're looking for in our crow. But just to even it out, let's feel how the other way does. So drop your torso down, draw the backs of the shoulders together, retraction. Reversing that. Shoulders separate, arms nice and straight, protraction here. All right, so we're starting to become familiar with a little bit of those component parts we're looking for in our crow. Now, let's add a cow-cat. Always good to warm up the spine. Start with a nice neutral position. And let's inhale as we drop our navel, tailbone up, heart forward, look up, cow. Exhale as you round your back, shoulders separate in that protraction, head hangs heavy in the cat. Reversing that back into cow. Inhale, send the heart forward, look up. And exhale, round into cat. Let's do two more times on your breath. Inhaling forward into cow. Exhaling into cat. Again, taking your time, seeing how those shoulders feel as you come through. One more time, each side. And exhale, rounding the back. All right, coming back to a nice neutral spine, we're going to add the legs now. So we're going to add a little bit of hip flexion to this exercise. So begin in a nice neutral spine, hugging the navel in and up. Extend that right leg back. Come into your cow pose. So drop the navel, lift the heart, point the toes. So you're in a cow pose with that right leg extended back. Now let's round into cat as you bend your knee. Draw it into your chest towards your nose. Let your head hang heavy. Inhale as you extend that leg out. Come back into your cow pose, arch back, tailbone up. Exhale, round, knee in. Do two more times. Inhale into your cow, leg extended. Exhale, round into cat. One more time here. Inhale, extend, heart forward. And exhale, round into cat. Just drop that right knee back down, top of the right foot to the mat. Switching to the other side. Extend that left leg back, point the left toes, come into your cow pose, drop the navel, tailbone up, heart forward. And exhale, round the back knee into chest. Inhale, extend into cow. Arch your back, heart forward, leg is straight. Exhale, round the back knee into chest, shoulders separate. Two more times on this side. Inhale as you extend, heart forward. Exhale, rounding into cat, knee draws in and up. One more time here, extending that left leg back, heart forward, look up. And exhale, round, knee into chest. Release that left knee to the mat. And let's gently press our hips back towards our heels. Come into our first child's pose here. Hips back to your heels. Let the forehead come to the mat. But have your arms come down to the sides of your feet. Backs of the hands to the mat, palms face up. Let this be nice and relaxing. Let your arms hang really heavy. Even here, you can feel if you let your arms hang heavy, those shoulders are protracting just naturally as the weight of the arms and gravity helps them to just fall to the mat. Just take one more inhale here. And exhale. Send your arms back out in front of you. Raise your hips up off your heels. Come back into that tabletop. Let's work on our Vashisthasana, our side plank. So upper body strength, again, is another requirement for our crow pose. So starting in our tabletop, come into plank pose, curl both toes under, shoulders over wrists. Now drop both heels to the left, raise your right arm up, come into your side plank. Option to stay here with your feet staggered, or if you'd like, you can lift that right leg on top of the left leg. Either way, you're raising your hips up as much as you can, keeping that bottom arm nice and straight. Let's add some wrist rotations while we're here, developing some mental focus. Make a fist with that right hand and gently make some rotations in one direction with that right fist. Let's switch directions in those rotations. We can multitask here. All right, gently release that right arm back down into your plank. And let's switch to the other side. So now drop both heels to the right this time. You're on your right hand, raise that left arm up into the air, left palm faces forward. Option one to stay here, option two, bring that left leg on top of the right foot. Make a fist with that left arm, raise those hips up, and start to make some rotations with that left wrist. And switch directions in those rotations. Again, a lot to consider in our crow pose, so let's already start to multitask here. Develop that focus. Gently release that left arm down, back into plank. Drop your knees to the mat. Uncurl those back toes and draw your knees up closer to your wrists now. So normally in our tabletop, our knees are directly under our hips. I want you to bring them up a couple inches closer to your wrists. Then draw your knees together and the tops of your feet together. Now from here, you're going to press your hands down into the mat. Make sure your wrist creases are lined up with the short edge of the mat. Press the tops of the feet into the mat. Start to round your back into your cat pose, shoulders separate, feet press into the mat, and then you can start to lift your knees up off the mat. Maybe they come up an inch or two, maybe they come up a foot or two. But you're looking to round your back, protract the shoulders, press down through the base of each finger and each palm. Gaze is forward towards the top of the mat. Just take one more breath here. And exhale, gently release the knees to the mat. Now curl those toes under. Send your hips back towards your heels. Walk your hands back, coming into a squat with the toes curled under. So in this modified squat here, toes are curled under. Knees come up to parallel with the mat. And your hands can either stay down, or if you want to work on your balance a little bit, hands come up towards the center of your chest. Gaze can be in front of you. Find your drishti, a non-moving spot. Let's just take a breath here. And exhale. Now another thing to work on in our crow
is our tricep to knee engagement. So, working on that, let's separate the knees out. Keep your feet together. Release your fingertips to the mat. You can stay there, or maybe you release your palms to the mat. And the last option, you can release your forearms to the mat. Either way, the focus here now is the knees to the triceps. So make sure you make that contact, knees to the triceps here. And now, wherever you are, the work here is to hug your knees in as you press your arms out into your knees. So you may start to shake here. This is really an active pose. We're not moving here. But the idea here is to hug those knees in with as much strength as you're pressing your arms out into those knees. Start to round your back, separate the shoulder blades slightly. Just stay for one more breath here. And exhale, gently release. Okay, come back up on your fingertips. Draw the knees back in together. Begin to forward fold as you straighten your legs. You can separate your feet out to hips with distance, heels behind the center toes. Just come into your forward fold here. Knees can slightly bend if those hamstrings are still a little tight. Let your head and your arms hang heavy. You can stay here in your ragdoll if you grab opposite elbows, or you can gently rock from side to side. Just keep gently pressing down through those feet, spinning the inner thighs back, giving you stability here. What a nice long spine. Soften the shoulders away from the ears. One more breath here. And come back to stillness in the middle. Release your arms if they're clasped. Let your head and your arms hang heavy. Press your feet into the mat. Spin your inner thighs in and back. We're gently going to roll up to standing, one vertebrae at a time. Take your time. Head is the last thing to arrive. And once you meet me up to standing, just roll your shoulders up and back a couple times and come to the top of your mat. At the top of your mat, feet or hips with distance, heels behind those center toes, arms down to the sides, palms face forward. Just take an inhale here and exhale. Now inhale the arms forward and up, overhead, palms touch, look up. Exhale, forward fold. Let's warm the body up. Inhale, halfway lift, hands to the shins, nice flat back. And exhale, forward fold. Place your palms to the mat. Step your right foot back, step your left foot back. We're in our plank pose. We're here for a couple breaths, shoulders over wrists. And you can always drop to your knees if you need to. But remember, upper body strength is definitely a requirement for crow pose. So see if you can maybe hold it just for two more breaths here. Pressing those heels back, drawing the tailbone back towards the knees. One more breath. And exhale, drop your knees to the mat, shift your torso forward, bend the elbows back, lower all the way to the mat. Uncurl the back toes, inhale, lift up into your back bend. Baby cobra to start maybe. Come up into half full cobra or upward facing dog. Wherever you are, stay for one more breath. And exhale, gently release the forehead to the mat, curl the back toes under, come up through tabletop. And then press your hips up, straighten your legs, come into our first downward facing dog. Let's pedal those legs out a couple times in downward dog. Take your dog for a walk. Maybe lift one heel and lift the other. Just loosen up those legs a little bit. Hands should be shoulder width distance, feet or hips width distance in your downward facing dog. Take one more breath just to loosen out here. And then meet me back in stillness in your downward dog. Inhale as you gaze forward. Bend the knees, exhale, walk or step to the top of the mat. Inhale, halfway lift. Exhale, forward fold. Press your feet into the mat. Inhale, arms out and up, overhead, palms touch, look up. And exhale, hands down to the center of your chest and down to the side. Let's repeat that and add on to it. Inhale, arms up, overhead, palms touch. Exhale, forward fold. Inhale, halfway lift. Exhale, plant your hands to the mat. Step your feet back into your plank. We'll just hold for one breath here. Now you can either stay up or if you need to, drop to your knees. Shift your torso forward, bend the elbows lower all the way to the mat. Uncurl the back toes, press the tops of the feet into the mat. Inhale, lift up into your back bend. Baby cobra, half full cobra, or upward facing dog. Staying for one more breath, hug those ankles in towards each other. And exhale, release all the way to the mat. Curl the back toes under, press yourself up either all the way to down dog or through tabletop. We're going to meet in downward facing dog here. Now in your downward facing dog, press the chest back towards the thighs, press the heels down towards their mat. Stay for one more breath. And exhale. Now working on that hip flexion a little bit, let's inhale as we raise our right leg up to hip height. Flex the right toes, press the right heel back, keep your pelvis neutral. Exhale as you draw your knee into your chest, shift your torso over your wrists. Staying here, hug that knee in and up, rounding your back. Exhale, press your hips back into that three-legged dog, right leg in the air. Doing that 2 more times. Exhale, draw your knee into chest, shoulders over wrists. And press yourself back up. Come back forward, knee into chest, shoulders over wrists. And exhale, extending that right leg back to hip height. This time, come forward as your knee bends, shoulders over wrists. We're staying forward this time. Drop your right foot to the top of the mat. Release your left foot back down, left heel down. We're looking for heel to arch alignment, warrior 2 feet. You may need to heel toe your feet over to the left a little bit. But once you have that pressed down into your feet, raise your arms up, come up into your warrior 2 pose. Face the other way here. In our warrior 2 pose, let's stay here for a couple breaths. Make sure that knee is tracking behind those center toes, pressing back through that back heel. Staying for one more breath. And exhale. Let's spin the arms forward to either side of that right foot. Send the right foot back to meet the left foot. Drop the knees to the mat if you need to. Shift your torso forward, lower all the way to the mat. Uncurl the back toes. Inhale as you lift up into your back bend of choice. Cobra or upward facing dog. Stay for one more breath. Exhale, gently release back down to the mat. Curl the back toes under, press yourself up either through tabletop or all the way into downward facing dog. Let's switch to the other side. So this time lift your left leg up and back to hip height. Flexing those left toes, keeping the pelvis neutral. Exhale as you draw your right knee into your chest, shift the shoulders over the wrists. Stay for a breath here, hug your knee in and up, navel in and up, shoulders protract. And inhale, press your hips back. Extend that leg up, three-legged dog. Exhale, knee into chest, shoulders over wrists. Stay for a breath. And inhale, press yourself back up. Left leg straightens, hip height. One more time here. Draw your left knee into your chest, shoulders over wrists. And exhale, extend that left leg back. Draw that left knee into your chest, shoulders over wrists. And this time, drop that left foot at the top of the mat. Release that right heel down. Warrior 2 feet. So heel toe that left foot over. Make sure you have heel to arch alignment. Press down into your feet and raise your arms up into your warrior 2. Knee tracks over ankle behind those second toes. Shoulder square with the side of the mat, gazes over those left fingertips. Keep pressing back through the outer edge of that right foot. Stay for 2 more breaths here in your warrior 2. Keep pressing down through that left heel. One more breath. And exhale, spin both arms forward and down, opposite ends of that left foot. Come up on that right heel. Send that left foot to meet the right foot. Drop to your knees if you need to. We're shifting forward. Bend the elbows back. Lower all the way to the mat. Uncurl the back toes. Inhale as you lift up into your back bend. Exhale, gently release. Curl the back toes under. Meet me in downward facing dog. Come up through tabletop if you need to. Now in downward facing dog, let's drop to our knees. Uncurl the toes so the tops of the feet come to the mat.
And this time, bring your toes together, knees together, and walk your hands back. So from here, we're going to recurl those toes under, lift the knees up, come back to that squat position where we were before. So feet together, knees together to start. We're going to work on our first variation of crow now. We're about halfway through class. We're a little warmed up. I think we're good to go. So let's separate the knees out. Place your hands down shoulder width distance. Wrist creases are lined up with the short edge of the mat or slightly turned down. You're maybe at 12 to 16 inches above your feet here. Now, from here, raise your knees up as high up on your triceps as you can. Begin to lift your hips up off your heels, shifting your torso forward, rounding the back, but still gazing forward. You're coming up maybe on your tippy toes. You can stay here or maybe lift one foot up and release. Lift the other foot up and release. Keep hugging those knees into your triceps, the triceps out into your knees, rounding the back, hugging the navel up, and gently release back down. Coming back into that squat, that modified squat, bringing your hands to the center of your chest. Just take an inhale here and exhale. Walk your hands forward. Let's come into downward facing dog. Feet or hips with distance, arms shoulder with distance. Inhale as you gaze forward. Bend the knees. Exhale, walker step to the top of the mat. Inhale, halfway lift. Exhale, forward fold. Inhale, arms out and up, overhead, palms touch, look up. And exhale, hands down to the center of your chest and down to the side. Just take a breath here. Now, just adding a little side twist action with coupled with balance. Again, balance is another important thing to work on in our crow pose. So let's just practice it here a little bit. So start with your feet hips width distance, heels behind the center, toes, palms face down. Bring both hands to your hips to start. Shift weight into that right foot. Bend that left knee up to hip height. Now, option one is to stay here. Option two, bring that right arm around to the outside edge of that left knee. You can gently add your twist from here, or the third option is to straighten that left leg. Use that right arm to grab the outer edge of that left foot, and then you can release that left arm behind. Maybe start to turn from the navel up to look over those left fingertips. Just stay for 2 breaths here. Keep hugging that outer right thigh in, pressing down through that right heel. Stay for 1 more breath. And exhale, gently release that foot back down, both hands to the center of your chest and down to the side. All right, shake your legs out a little bit. Let's work on the other side. Feet hips width distance, hands to the hips. This time shift the weight into the right leg. Bend that right knee up to hip height. Option one is just to stay here if this is enough for you. Option two, oh, I'm sorry, we just did this. We'll switch. I'm going to shift weight into that left leg, bend the right knee up to hip height. So option one is to stay here if this is enough for you. Option two, left arm to the outside of that right knee. Add your twist here. Option three, if you want to straighten that right leg, grab the outside edge of that with your left hand, and then you turn from the navel up. Right arm extends back, right palm faces the right side. Turn to look over those right fingertips. Stay for 2 breaths here. Broaden those collarbones. Keep pressing down through that left heel for stability, hugging that left thigh in. 1 more breath. And exhale as you gently release that leg and turn forward. Release both feet to the ground. Bring both hands into the center of your chest. Take an inhale. And exhale. All right, meet me back at the top of your mat. Feet or hips width distance. Actually, let's bring our toes into touch this time. So at the top of your mat, toes touch, heels are maybe an inch apart. Coming into chair pose. Drop your hips back, bend your knees. Let's extend our arms forward, palms face each other. Traditional chair pose, palms face each other. Let's actually add our crow wrist here. So this time, bend your wrists And have your palms face forward so that the fingertips face up. So we're in our chair pose, but we just have our crow arms and wrists here. Gently make sure you can look down and see your toes. You may need to send your hips back. Just stay for one more breath here. And exhale, gently release into your forward fold. Inhale, halfway lift, hands to the shins, flat back. And exhale, forward fold. Place both palms to the mat. Step both feet back into your plank pose. We'll stay here just for one breath. If you need to, drop to your knees. Otherwise, shift forward. You can lower all the way to the mat or halfway down into chaturanga. Uncurl the back toes, lift up into your version of back bend. And exhale, release. And meet me in downward facing dog. Come up through tabletop if you need to. Now let's raise that right leg back. Press that right heel back. Exhale, draw that right knee into your chest. Shift and release that right foot to the top of the mat. Now drop that left heel down, coming back into your warrior two position here. Warrior 2 feet, but stay low this time. Now this is where if you have a block, you can place it on the inside edge of that right foot. Otherwise, come up on your fingertips or your palm compressed into the mat. The idea here is again to have that knee to tricep connection and engagement. So you're gently pressing the knee into the tricep into the knee. Raise that left arm up, palm faces forward, and then extend that left arm overhead. Utthita Parsva Konasana, extended side angle. Keep pressing down through that right heel. We're here for 2 more breaths. Again, the connection between that tricep and the knee is so important here and in our crow pose. 1 more breath here. And exhale, just gently release that left arm down. Come up on that back left heel, right arm to the outside edge of that right foot. Extend that right foot back. Come into your version of either chaturanga or lower all the way to the mat, elbows back. Inhale, come up into your version of back bend. And exhale, curl the toes under. Meet me in downward facing dog. Come through tabletop if you need to. Switching to the other side this time. Lift your left leg up and back to hip height. Bend the left knee into your chest. Send that left forward to the top of the mat. Drop that right heel down. Warrior 2 feet. So heel to arch alignment. Left toes faces forward. Right toe slightly turned in. This time, left hand comes to the inside edge of that left foot. Use a block if you need to. Otherwise, fingertips or palm. Again, make sure you have that tricep to knee engagement. Once you have that, raise that right arm up to the sky. Right palm faces forward, then extend that right arm over your head. Press down through the back edge of that right foot. Extend up through those right fingertips. Nice long length here. Again, gently pressing the knee into the tricep into the knee. 1 more breath here in our extended side angle. And exhale, gently release that right palm to the mat. Come up on those right toes, left palm to the outside edge of that left foot. Send that left foot to meet the back foot. Vinyasa your way. Either drop to your knees, lower halfway, or all the way to the mat. Uncurl, lift up into your back bend. Hold for a breath here. Broaden through those collarbones. And exhale, release. Curl the toes under. Meet me in downward facing dog. Let's stay here for just 2 or 3 breaths. You press your chest back toward your thighs. Press the heels down towards the mat. Spin the inner thighs in and back. Press the base of each finger and each palm into the mat. Raise those forearms up. 1 more breath. And exhale, gently shift forward. Lower your knees to the mat. Come into your tabletop pose. Now curl the toes under this time. Keep the feet together. Walk those hands back. Let's lift back up into that modified squat here. Let's try our crow pose again. So separate the knees out. Release the hands down. Make sure those wrist creases are lined up with the short edge of the mat or slightly turned out. Get those knees up as high up on the triceps as you can. Try to keep the feet together. Start to shift your weight forward as you lift your hips up. Again, draw those knees in, hug that navel in and up, rounding the spine.
separating the shoulders. You can gaze forward. You can start to lift one foot, maybe the other. Maybe you lift both feet up together and fly your crow. Keep hugging the navel in and up. Just stay for one more breath wherever you are. And gently release those feet down to the mat. Now, come into just a standing forward fold. So straighten your legs as you let your head hang heavy. Separate your feet out to hips width distance. Just let your head and your body hang heavy here. You can grab opposite elbows if you'd like. Gently sway from side to side, or just stay here. Now, coming back to stillness, let's add our Padangusthasana pose. What we're going to do is bring the backs of the hands to the mat. Raise your toes up and slip those hands underneath your toes so the palms face up. Bend your knees as much as you need to. See if you can get the toes to touch the wrists with your palms facing up. Just giving the wrists a little bit of a massage here. You can even try and move your toes a little bit to massage your wrists out. If your knees are bent, you can try to straighten those legs a little bit. Just start to dump some more of your weight into the toes and less into your heels. If you fall forward, no big deal. You'll learn, you'll get back up. It's slightly a balancing pose as well. Just stay for one more breath here. And exhale as you gently release those hands from underneath your feet. Walk your hands back out into your downward facing dog. Now let's inhale as we gaze forward. Bend the knees. Exhale, walker step to the top of the mat. Inhale, halfway lift, nice long back. Exhale, forward fold. Keep the knees bent, hips back. Inhale, lift the arms forward into your chair pose. Let's add our crow arms. So rotate, bend the wrists, palms face forward, pressing that imaginary wall away. Shoulders are protracting. Stay for one more breath. Then exhale, straighten the legs. Hands come to the center of your chest and down to the sides. Just take a couple deep breaths here before we continue. All right, at the top of your mat, again, bring your toes together, heels separate. Come into that chair pose again, bend the knees, send the hips back, arms forward, wrist bend, press the wall away, protract those shoulder blades. Make this an active pose. We're here for one breath. And exhale, gently release, fold forward. Inhale, halfway lift, nice flat back. And exhale, forward fold, plant the palms down, step back into your plank. Stay here for just 2 breaths. You can shoulders over wrists, drop to your knees if you need to. One more breath here. Now drop to your knees if you'd like, otherwise shift forward, bend the elbows lower halfway or all the way to the mat. Uncurl the back toes, lift up into your version of back bend, broadening the collarbones, drawing the shoulder blades together, hugging the ankles in towards each other. One more breath in your back bend. And exhale, curl the toes under. Lift your hips up into downward facing dog. Let's all meet in downward dog here. In your down dog, extend and lift that right leg up and back. Press that right heel back. Draw the right knee into your chest. Round your back as your shoulders come over your wrist. Right foot comes to the top of the mat. Now stay in your high lunge here. Right foot is on the right side of the mat. Left foot is on the left side. Raise your arms forward and up. Torso lifts, arms come up. Adding Garudasana arms here. So extend both arms out, palms face forward. Hug yourself. Let's do the left arm on top to start. Elbows on top, stacked. Option to stay here. Option 2, backs of the hands together. Or palms touch, option 3. Staying in that high lunge, raising that back leg up, keeping it nice and engaged. And start to raise your elbows up. Maybe add a slight back bend here. Either way, draw those elbows up. Draw the tailbone down. Woo. Get your balance. Stay for one more breath here. And exhale, gently release the arms. Arms up overhead. Release the arms down to opposite sides of the right foot. Send that right foot to meet the back foot. You're in your plank pose. We're going to shift forward, lower to your knees if you need to. Bend the elbows, lower halfway or all the way. Inhale into your back bend. Exhale, curl the toes under. Press yourself up through your downward facing dog. Switching to the other side, let's lift that left leg up and back. Press that left heel back. Draw the left knee into your chest as you round forward. Protract the shoulder blades. And then release that left foot to the top of the mat. So you're in your high lunge. Left foot on the left side of the mat, right foot on the right. Press down into your feet. Reach the arms forward and up. Raise your torso up into your high lunge. Adding Garudasana, arms extend both arms out, palms face forward. Hug yourself, wrap your right arm on top this time, elbows stacked. You can stay here, option 2, backs of the hands together. Option 3, palms come to touch. Wherever you are, press down through that left heel, raise that right thigh up. Keep that back leg nice and engaged. Lift those elbows up, draw the tailbone back down towards the ground. Maybe add a slight back bend as you look up. Keep your balance, stay for one more breath. And exhale, gently release the arms. Arms come up overhead, palms face each other. And exhale, release the arms down, palms touch. Send that left foot to meet the back foot. We're in our plank pose. Vinyasa through. Lower halfway all the way. Inhale into your back bend. Exhale, curl the toes under, downward facing dog. Let's drop the knees to the ground. Uncurl those back toes. Press your hips back towards your heels. Come into child's pose. Rest the forehead to the mat. Backs of the hands to the ground. Beside your feet, palms face up. Again, let your arms hang heavy. Let those shoulders protract. Just stay for a couple breaths in your child's pose. We have one last opportunity to work on our crow pose here. So just gather your breath, gather your strength. Remember everything we've worked on. Protracting the shoulder blades away from each other. The wrist alignment. The active core hugging the navel in and up. The contact and engagement of the knees and the triceps. Keeping the feet together, keeping the legs together as we hug in and up. Let's put all that together. Let's give it one more shot. So, release your arms forward. Keep your hands shoulder width distance. Release your hips up. Curl the toes under. Walk your knees in a little bit closer. And now set your hips back towards your heels. Come into that modified squat pose. Separate your knees out. Release the hands back down, shoulder width distance. Now, again, make sure those wrist creases are lined up with the short edge of the mat or slightly turned out. Arms are shoulder width distance. Again, start by getting those knees up as high up on those triceps as you can to start. Keep your feet together. Start to raise your hips up off your heels, sending the weight forward, rounding the back, but still looking forward. Hug those knees in towards the triceps. Maybe you lift one foot, maybe you lift both. Either way, whatever is lifted, hug those legs in and up. Maybe you start to straighten your arms. Keep rounding the back, looking forward. Stay for 2 more breaths here. Whatever version works for you. One last breath. And exhale, gently release those feet down. Straighten the legs, come into your forward fold. Just a nice forward fold here to counter what we had just done. Let your head and your arms hang heavy. Just take one more breath. And exhale. Now bend your knees. Come back up on your toes. Release your hands behind you and just come back to a seat with your legs out in front of you. Now hands are behind you. Fingers face forward, palms down. Fingertips are maybe an inch or two behind your hips. Let's extend both legs straight out. Toes touch. Coming into Purvottanasana, which is basically a reverse of what we did. So it's really going to stretch out those pectoral muscles, all those muscles across the top of our chest that we just strengthened. So press and make sure you straighten your arms as you press down into the mat.
Press your feet down and then start to lift your hips up as much as you can. Head looks up towards the ceiling. You can gently let it fall back, but make sure that neck is still engaged. Stay for one more breath as you lift your hips up as much as you can. One more breath. And exhale, gently release the hips back down towards the mat. Shift forward as you bend your knees. Hold on to your shins or your thighs. You can gently roll onto your back. Keep the knees bent. Place your feet underneath your knees. Hips width distance. Arms down to the mat. Tabletop, bridge pose here. Press your arms down into the mat. Press the feet into the mat. On your next inhale, lift your hips up, pelvis up, chest up into your bridge pose. Draw the shoulders back and round them underneath. You can stay here, or maybe you clasp your hands underneath and wiggle your shoulders up and under just a little bit more. You're going to lift and spin your inner thighs in and down to keep those knees hips width distance. Extend your chin away from your chest and your chest towards your chin. One more breath here in your bridge pose. Maybe lift a little bit higher. Exhale, gently release the arms if they're clasped. Roll down from the top of your spine, low back, the last to arrive. Heel toe your feet out to the width of the mat. Let your knees fall into touch. Arms out to the side, palms face up. Just stay here for a moment. Now keep your feet where they are. Gently let your knees rock from side to side. Just releasing any last little bit of tightness that may be in that low back. That SI joint, this is just a great way to loosen that up. And bring both knees back up to center to touch. Heel toe your feet into touch, and now your knees and your feet are touching in the middle of the mat. Raise your right foot up and over. Place your right knee on top of that left knee. Arms down to your side. Shift your hips off to the right, and then let your knees fall down to the left. So your hips are off to the right. Let your knees fall down to the left. Extend both arms out, palms face up. Try to maintain that right shoulder on the mat. If it pops up a little bit, just come out of your twist slightly. Your gaze can be up towards the ceiling or look over those right fingertips. If you'd like, you can have a gentle press with that left hand on that right knee to just deepen it a little bit more. Just stay here for 2 breaths. Gently release that hand. Knees come back up to center. Recenter your hips. Knees and feet touch for a moment. And then lift your left foot, left knee on top of the right. Shift your hips off to the left, and then let your knees fall off to the right. Got Oliver right next to me here. We'll see if I can drop safely. Try to keep your left shoulder on the mat. Come out of your twist just slightly if it pops up. And you can gently use that right hand to gently press the left knee down. Deepen the stretch slightly. Gazes to the ceiling or turn the neck to look over the left fingertips. We're here for 2 breaths. Gently release that right hand from on top of the knee. Knees come back up to center. Release that left foot to the outside edge of the right foot. The knees and feet to touch. Recenter those hips. Let's gently squeeze those knees back into the chest. Raise the shoulders and the head off the mat. Let's add some more core work here before we finish. Just kidding. We're not going to do any more of that. We're done for the day. Gently release down. Extend the legs forward. Extend the arms overhead. Just add one nice little full body stretch. Extend the toes away from the fingertips. And exhale as you release the arms down to the side. Palms face up. Release the knees and the feet out to the side.
Begin to relax into your Shavasana pose, a time to release any little bit of tension in your body, release any control over your breath or your mind. Just exist and be here. Your eyes can start to soften or your gaze can close as your body just melts into your mat here. Begin to bring some awareness back into your body. You can wiggle your fingers or your toes, rotate your wrists and your ankles. Switch directions in those rotations. Gently come back to stillness for one last breath here. Now gently begin to roll over to one side of your body. You can slightly bend your knees as your top knee comes to meet your bottom, and your top arm comes to meet your bottom arm. Stay for a breath here on your side. Keeping your eyes closed or your gaze softened, use your top arm to press yourself up into a comfortable cross-legged seated position as we complete our practice together. Once you're in your comfortable cross-legged seat, palms come to the top of the knees, or palms can face up, or palms into the center of your chest. Let's all take a deep inhale together and exhale. Thank you for joining me in practice today. The light and love in me acknowledges and honors the light and love in each one of you. Thank you. Peace. Thank you all so much for joining me in practice this evening. I really hope you enjoyed it, and it was a good way to wrap up your Friday evening. I love doing more intense flows on Friday. I feel like it just energizes me for the rest of the weekend. And I really hope you feel good. I hope you learned something and maybe tried something new today. Take how you feel and bring it into the weekend. I hope you maybe have a chance to get outside this weekend. If you're in Baltimore, it's going to be nice. We should have some warmer weather the next couple days. From wherever you're watching, I want to thank you so much for joining. Again, my name is Daniel with Daniel Lee Yoga. If you have any questions, you can always leave them in the chat or in the comments of the video. In the description, you have all my contact info, ways to reach me, and also the donation link to Movable Feast if you'd like to donate. So I want to just thank you again for joining me in practice. Have a wonderful weekend. Next class will be Monday at 7 p.m. Thank you very much. Peace.